Hi everyone, it's Erin Scott here. Welcome to your October 2019 Alchemy Scope. Let's take a look at your growth processes, your natural growth processes for this Libra new moon cycle, which is correlating with our month of October, through three different modalities: an art channeling, a divinatory message, and an analysis of your astrological cycle. Pisces, so let's take a look. We're going to dive right into your art process here, all right? So let's take a look. Now, you did receive a really interesting channeling that came through. So you can see that I'm starting with pen, and there's a lot of arcs coming through. The original arc, this kind of curved, formation, loops. It was a very flowing process. It came very rapidly, too. Although all of them really are coming rapidly for the most part. So you can see that there's something developing here, right? It was forms that was without any kind of clarity. You can see that now there's kind of this diamond formation that it formed. Essentially, you can see kind of a bird head. In a way, you can see this bird head. It ends up becoming what seems to be puffin-like, which is what we're going to talk about in the analysis. But you can see kind of on the forehead of the puffin, there was some sort of a diamond formation there at the third eye. And you can see the red that's forming underneath the eye and around it. And down kind of on top of the beak. And then the eye itself is becoming yellow. And then there's these yellow emanations coming out from the eyeball, essentially. And I didn't count them. So what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 kind of yellow emanations coming out from the eye. And then the diamond wanted to glitter. And you could see at the top of the head, there's these kind of, formations. They wanted to become purple, certainly indicating crown chakra activation. You can see that the purple is streaming up into the P, the hole or the void of the P, the letter P of your archetypal name. So certainly there's crown chakra activation here, no question, during this month. We have these 3 blue lines that emerged, kind of on the neck, the back of the head and the neck. Each of the center points of these lines have a box. And then there's some sort of, I don't know yet what these are. We're going to be talking about this. I looked at this a little bit before, recording this audio for you. So I have some clarity emerging, but some of it I haven't figured out yet. We're going to talk about it. So these 3 lines, 3 boxes, circles on top of the lines, a check in the middle box, a line through the first box, this big arc flow getting accentuated out from the top of that blue line. You can see that the beak, the under, area, the shadowed part of the beak is kind of being filled in. And then here we have a boat that, behind that head of this puffin-like bird, there's this, water. There's an ocean behind. And a boat emerged, red body, with, I guess it's called a rudder. The rudder underneath the boat, and there's like dots leading from the rudder down into the ocean. Do you see that? So let's take a look at this, Pisces. All right. Now there's a couple of things. Let's look at what came first, second, and third. The first thing that emerged here was essentially what ended up becoming this head of the bird. Now it is a close-up and it is a profile. Right? It's almost like a 3/4 view. Why is that? Why is that important? I don't know. The puffin is looking, if we're looking at this image, the puffin is looking left, okay? But the puffin itself, if we are the puffin is looking right. Now, puffin looking right is indicating left brain activation, which is more detail oriented, analysis oriented. It's more analytic. So the interesting thing is there's a whole lot of spiritual activation that I see here that we're going to talk about that is part of your October growth process, unquestionably. However, I do believe that Pisces are assimilating and catalyzing. They're stepping into a new way of operating that is actually more logistical. Does that make sense? So it's almost like you're taking, I think Pisces, and it makes sense when we look at the arc of astrological unfolding over the last several years and what we're kind of in now and stepping into in the coming couple years. It does make sense because you are, this is your time in a way. All of the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and other signs too. There's different functions of the other signs too, but a lot of the water signs are stepping into almost their paradigm. And that's going to make more sense as the months go on here. But this is what I want to say. I do believe that there's a lot of spiritual activation with Pisces and that you are moving forward both with spiritual information, spiritual wisdom, and spiritual impetus. But I think that you're also incorporating, importantly, the logistical, strategic, and more physical reality components of the creations that you want to bring forward, the work that you want to move into, the strategy for your life that you want to create for yourself. Yes. So this is what I want to say. The bird came first. Now, a bird in general, I have my book here. We're going to read what puffin means. I haven't read it yet. Bird in general is a spiritual entity, right? Bird in general is spirit, because it's the flight of us. It's an archetypal flight. Now let's read puffin. I'm reading this from Dr. Stephen Farmer's Spirit Animals book. Okay, this is puffin. Action speaks louder than words. So pay closer attention to what you and others are conveying through your body language and vocal characteristics. This is interesting because of what we're going to talk about. Much more so than the spoken word. So take care of your body language is the message here. Be mindful of it, right? Make it a point to pray every day for at least a few minutes, focusing on prayers of gratitude, more so than those of supplication or requests. Yes? So it's about connecting into gratitude. And by the way, doing that, there is actually scientific research around the power of gratitude. Gratitude connects you into the abundance that is the natural foundation of life, of living systems of consciousness. So the reason that gratitude is so powerful is because it connects you to your truth. It connects you to your own nature. He continues here, it's better at this time to contain your true feelings rather than to express them. Now that's interesting. Look ahead and do your best to anticipate what's down the road before you make your move. Pisces, I'm going to repeat that. Look ahead and do your best to anticipate what's down the road before you make your move. That's important because of what I just spoke about you are spiritually inclined this month, yet you are you're accessing your left brain. You're processing in an analytical manner. You're able to use your corpus callosum and connect both aspects of the holistic aspect of your brain. So to see things in a holistic perspective, right brain, but also plan logistically, left brain. Do your best to avoid fights and conflicts as much as you can, as there wouldn't be any winners anyway if it were to come to that. Lighten up and inject a healthy dose of fun and humor into your spiritual path. Very appropriate for what's going to come next, right? What we're going to look at next. Very, very powerful that. Now, So that's beautiful, right? So it's definitely about being mindful of your words. Now, the reason why I say there's so much here to talk about, actually, let's start one at a time. Let's start with the eye, because the eye got formed after the head got formed. The eye really got articulated. Yellow eye, 7 yellow beams coming out of the eye. There's red and orange ultimately that came up at the bottom around the eye. The eye is your perspective. And the yellow of the eye and the emanation for me says confidence. I think that you're going to be trusting your perception more confidently this month. During the cycle, you're going to be able to, let's say, understand the value of your own being and the value set that you bring to this world. There's some new confidence that is aiding your entire process this month. So the emanations out with those 7 lines is important. Why? Because it's number 7. And number 7 comes up again with the purple and the P. 7 yellow lines emanating indicates the great mysteries. It's a connection to the unknown. 7 is that which cannot fully be known. It's kind of the magical, mystical aspect of living systems. We can prove so much, but we can't prove everything. Not everything is material, and there is the emergent property that is inherent in living systems. We can't know everything. That's 7. So the point is that Pisces, I think, is moving through a growth process where you're more confident in the unknown. You're more confident in your own spiritual belief system that understands and sees beyond the physical reality of physical matter. So you're more confident in your position, in other words. You're not believing the lie of it's all material and you have to believe what's in front of you, right? That being said, you also have your crown chakra activated with those 3 prongs at the top of the head at the crown, and the crown is leading up to the P. P in the Pythagorean alphabet is number 7. So you're getting 2 7s implicated here. So there's definitively an aspect of growth. Then we have the diamond there showing up, kind of shining outward on the third eye segment of the forehead of the puffin. So this is about spiritual activation. There's something getting activated for you. Now, when we look at your astrology, you're going to understand why. It's completely tied in here. Now, let's look at the blue lines. Now, what are the blue lines? I don't know. Blue definitely can indicate communication. Blue can indicate the 5th chakra, right? Which is all about expression. Expressing your voice, expressing your position, expressing your point of view, expressing yourself as a person, as an individual. The interesting thing about these blue lines, number 1, there's 3. 3 can indicate communication, creativity, collaboration, right? 3 can also indicate, what was I going to say actually? Creativity, collaboration, and creativity. There's a creative component with 3. All right. So, and there's also kind of an apprenticeship kind of association with 3 as well. But it's certainly kind of learning through group dynamic. That's an aspect of 3 inherently. The blue indicates some sort of communication thread. So you're hearing things and you're communicating things. But this definitely for me speaks to communication. However, there are these 3 boxes that ended up on top of these lines. Now, when these were coming through, again, just channeling, I had 0 idea what this was all about. But after kind of looking at it afterwards, the 1 box has the line through it, okay? Now, the boxes seem to represent almost like ticking boxes, right? The middle box is ticked. The first box is crossed out. The 3rd box has those lines emanating out from it. So this is what I get, Pisces, okay? I get that there's kind of 3, let's say over the course of this Libra new moon October cycle, you might receive 3 different important communications, let's say. Or you might have the creative impetus to express 3 different, at 3 different occasions, your perspective or your point of view about something. What I get with the first line with the box with the cross through it is you might choose not to communicate about something. You might choose to stay silent. And it's perfect for the puffin because the puffin is indicating the need to listen, right? To be mindful about your words and to be mindful about your intonations, how you're talking, the body language with which you're bringing through. Perhaps at the beginning of the October cycle, you are assessing still and you're choosing not to take action or not speak your point of view because you're still navigating that. It is more of a time maybe to listen. The second time that there's an opportunity to speak your mind, you do it. There's a check on that box. And at the top of it, the ball on the top of that line got a circle around it. And there's 2 things connected to it. One is one of the yellow emanations from the eye is linking to it. Now, that position of that double circle on the top of that line is essentially the position of the ear of the puffin, yes? So there's something here about you're confidently owning your point of view, literally the yellow eye, connecting to hearing something or assessing something perhaps through your ear. So you hear something, you receive some sort of communication, and you tick it off. So either something that you perceive and hear creates the impetus to speak, okay? And what I get is 2 things. I do think that you're listening, you're receptive to information coming in. Why? Because from that point at the top of that line, there's this, the original kind of curved arc that came out from the head of the puffin. It got accentuated through all of these repetitive swirled lines. So there's this flow of sound. There's a flow of information. There's a flow of communication. I think coming in and coming out from you. I think you're listening and assimilating and then perhaps speaking. That third line, in fact, the second line might even be listening. The third line has the emanations, 3 lines coming out from that third box. Do you see that? And what that could mean is that something comes about early in the month, you choose not to speak about it. Second time you're listening, you're attentive, you're assimilating information, it's registering. Third position in the month, third point in the month, you decide to speak about it. And indeed, that could be that flowing lines that are emanating out. And there are 3 of them, just like there are 3 kind of points at the top of that head, the purple, let's say, feathers at the top of the puffin's head. So maybe there is some collaboration that comes about. I hope that makes sense. Now, in the back, now the other thing that I'll point out is that at one point, the bottom of the beak wanted to be shadowed, like the shadowed part of the underside of the beak wanted to be, elaborated upon with the pen. What does that mean? Does it mean that you are keeping your mouth shut for a good portion of the month? Could it be that you are attending to shadow, which, by the way, is in your astrology this month? So there's a shadow aspect of the mouth, a shadow aspect of speaking that is being, let's say, ascertained, understood, okay? Now, in addition to all of that, Pisces, you also have this boat in the background on the water. The water is this turquoise blue. It's clean. It's pretty calm. There's nothing too choppy about it. But there's certainly, it's all coming behind your head. So in your head, I get that there's this kind of calmness or a groundedness, even with the emotional waters activated. Indeed, a boat on top of water is able to journey emotional waters. And certainly you're a water sign, you have that inherent skill set. But the boat on top of the water, you're able to just connect. And the fact is that the bottom of the, first of all, and the boat is red, right? So the boat being red is your energy system. It's your passion, it's your fire, it's also your anger and your rage, your aggravation, the reactionary self, you know. Mars is an immature planet. It is reactionary, kind of without being mindful. So the interesting thing about the boat is red, but the flag is clear, and also the rudder has this kind of dotted line that kind of is grounding it or rooting it into the depths of the water. So yes, there is some anger, I think, that's going to come about, but it's floating on top of the pretty calm, clear water, ocean. So the ocean of water and the ocean of the consciousness field, which is very much Neptune and Pisces oriented here. You're able to sail above it, right? You're not sinking. It's not in choppy water. So there's energy activated. It is grounded in your deep feeling body this month. I hope that makes sense. It's going to be a fascinating month for you, I think. It's a bit of both, and there's confidence, there's quiet and assimilation and receptivity, and then there might be at the end of the cycle, perhaps, maybe mid-cycle, there's going to be some activation, some speaking, some expression of who you are more confidently. Okay, now let's move on to your divinatory message. Now, I had such a blast, again, going out to a beautiful location and choosing these cards. Beautiful day, as you can see in this image. Now, your growth edge for the month, Pisces, is loop of humor. Very much connected to Puffin, I have to say. And the message here on this deck is look at the light side of life, okay? Now, let me read this. This is written by Cindy Solano here. The reflection for your month, this is your growth. This is what you need to evolve this month, to flow through this month and this cycle with least effort, okay? So humor is calling you to grow it, to evolve it. Your reflection for this month is this. Don't get so worked up over life. Stay cool, calm, and collected. Don't let your pot boil over. When you look at things from a lighter side, you can avoid negative situations altogether. This is the way of it, everybody. It's all about perception. It's all about how you perceive what's happening, yeah? There is no reason to be offended or bent out of shape over the little things. If you can laugh, you will always be a winner. Go through your day with this perspective and see how you are in control of your own happiness. Just as I said that, the 2222 on this recording came up. It's definitely an activation and a validation. So Pisces, a beautiful growth edge message for you, right? All right, now let's take a look at your astrology. Now you're going to notice for this month, I did it a little bit differently. I just have one chart, but meaning what you're looking at here, the chart that you're looking at here, is a Aries at the ascendant line chart, okay? A Aries ascendant whole sign chart for our Libra new moon. And again, the new moon energies imbue the narrative for the month ahead. So that's what we're looking at. But I'm going to tell you what your activations is for the Pisces archetype. Okay, so the main activations for you this month are 8th house and 11th house. As you know, that Pluto, Saturn, South Node in Capricorn has been naturally transmutating and testing and creating challenges with regards to issues of community, friends, tribe, belonging, and also your greater hopes, wishes, and dreams for yourself, for your life. And in addition to that, your, let's say, promptings or catalyzation for whatever humanitarian-oriented work toward benefiting the whole you are naturally aligned to do. And that's different for each one of you, depending on your blueprint. So what I want to say to you with this is a couple of things. This month, we have, and you can see in this chart, Over in Libra, okay, you can see the Sun-Moon conjunction at 5 degrees 20 minutes Libra. You can see Venus at 17 degrees Libra, and you can see Mercury at 23 degrees Libra. There are a lot of square activations between Libra and Capricorn. Now for you, all of that stellium of planetary energy in Libra is activating your 8th house. 8th house squaring 11th house. There's a lot of deep psychological work that a lot of you are doing. For some of you, there's a lot of new beginnings that are happening with partnerships. For those of you married or in committed partnerships, there are changes happening, and there are challenges that you will have to contend with this month. Okay, now I am recording this on the new moon. Okay, so you and a handful of others are going to be actually recorded on this new moon. So the energies are certainly ripe for this recording. But this is what I'm going to clarify for you. Very specifically, every new moon is about the sun and moon coming together in conjunction. The sun is the outer self, the moon is the inner self. The sun is the active, expressive aspect of the self. The moon is the inner, reflective, and emotionally connected aspect of the self. When the sun moon come together, naturally it's a time to plant new seeds, and it's a time for a new cycle of growth. So that's what we're looking at here. Well, this sun moon conjunction at 5 degrees, number one, it's a 5-degree point. 5 indicates change, action, movement, chaos, freedom, and also creativity that can emerge from the chaos field, which is natural. So there's a lot activated with 5. It certainly indicates that the individual, and it's not just for you, it's for all of us, that the individual self is changing and has to contend with change that's happening. So that being said, that sun moon is squaring the Saturn and the South Node placements specifically. Not so much Pluto, but it is squaring South Node Saturn, which are virtually exactly conjunct. The South Node is at 13 degrees 54 minutes Capricorn, and Saturn is at 1400. So what we're talking about here is intense. And I will tell you, first, a lot of you listening to my voice right now already understand the intensity that is this Saturn South Node conjunction. It's very, very full on. Why? Because Saturn is past patterns, and Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and Saturn is all about, in its lower frequency iteration, it's all about control. The need to focus and reduce and control circumstances, people, conversations, whatever it might be, in order to manifest what it wants to manifest. The higher iteration of Saturn is all about accountability, responsibility, leadership, achievement, growth. Okay? But the point is that inherently with the conjunction of Saturn on the South Node, what we're talking about here is toxic past patterns. Being too bound to issues of, and too tied to focused mind on achievement or the traditional way by which the world at large or the human psyche at large has applied success. What is success? It's a human myth. What's set up now? Well, that's being tested, and it's also being pressurized, right? So on the collective level with governments, etc., it's being pressurized. Meaning the patriarchy is crumbling, whether it likes it or not. But it's so skewed out of balance that naturally it would need to bound back to some sort of balance here. There's been such a dismissal of the Cancerian quality of being that of course it's going to rebalance. And thus we have that North Node in Cancer. So, but the point is this. For you, you are possibly, for the month of October, as you're going through the spiritual process that came out with the art channeling, and strategically planning ahead. And by the way, the South Node Saturn is helping you with that strategy. So for example, South Node Saturn is about an entrenched way of operating that's very Saturnian, very kind of growth and achievement oriented. It wants to be successful, and it wants to, fit into the societal norm. It might be societal system orientation, like having a corporate job, for example. Certainly, Capricorn rules governments, politics, institutions, corporations. But for the individual, this is kind of the structure of your paradigm of your success. What you do for your career, what you do to achieve and build your wealth and reputation in this world. Also, inherently, too, what you naturally seek to achieve. What is it that you do desire to achieve? Well, with the South Node Saturn, there's going to be two things happening. One, it's going to remind you of your ability as a leader. That is activated. And indeed, with the puffin imagery that came forward, I think a lot of you are going to be remembering. There's a new confidence that you're going to be remembering about your inherent value of self and your ability to bring forward important skill sets in this world that are valuable, okay, inherently. That is happening. There is a reminder of your ability to lead on that Saturn. But the other thing that's activated, Pisces, is there's a lot of intensity with that conjunction, and it's bringing a need to let go of toxic, entrenched patterns of dominance, control, hyper-reduced mind, total focus on product and versus process, versus quantity versus quality. That's this Capricorn Cancer opposition here. So it's a whole worldview change. It's a whole paradigm change. The issue comes into play for you this month in that the square that's activated is a deepening of the self. Sun Moon conjunct at 5 degrees change in the 8th. This is about your deep psychological self. The deep woundings within as well. There are new beginnings happening with regards to the structure of reality, the square to Capricorn. And you are having to contend with it on a deeper level, perhaps. Keep in mind the 8th house also rules the metaphysical mind, the ability to tap into the psychic field, to certainly see beyond the veil. So the issue, Pisces, for you here is there's some challenge. 8th house identity challenge. Really kind of dealing with some of the deep wounding stuff that might be emerging, especially with that conjunction of South Node Saturn squaring it. Because what that indicates is these rigid past patterns. When it comes to the group, the tribe, when it comes to issues of belonging, for example, for you, Saturn in that 11th house can be isolation from the group. So the issue here at play for you in October is having you confront any challenge with regards to feeling too isolated. Now, the good news, and I'm trust me, I feel that this is excellent news, is that Saturn is currently going direct, okay? And it is going to be separating further and further from that South Node very rapidly throughout October. And in fact, mid-October, it's going to be about a 5-degree orb from one another. And every day forward, it's just going to be more and more eased. This is now a completed cycle for you, and it's a very good thing. So there is any kind of old patterns of isolating yourself from the group. There's new beginnings emerging. That's part of the 5 in the 8th house of the Sun-Moon conjunction for you. Now, the other thing is, your 8th house is aligned with Libra, and Libra is about relationships. It's about dynamic equilibrium, fair and just, harmonious, collaborative equilibrium between people. That's what Libra is. So for you, there is new beginnings of identity with regards to your relationships that is beginning. There will first be a crunchy, challenging experience with it, I think. Okay? That's okay. It's emerging, it's growing, you're burgeoning a new self here. Now, quickly, let's talk about a couple quick other things. There's a T-square also activated for you, that's energetically encoded for you for this month. It is the new moon placement of Mars at 26 degrees Virgo opposed Neptune, your ruler. So for you, you might find that relationships might feel a bit aggressive to you. You might feel a bit of conflict coming from people. For you, this Mars is in your 7th house. Okay, Neptune is, of course, in your 1st because it's in your sign. So for you, there's a bit of kind of you as the idealistic dreamer feeling a bit oppressed or opposed or argued at by others. So that's continuing to happen. That happened also in September, but you're going to feel it a bit in October as well. And then Mars is going to be moving into your 8th house, which is going to activate certainly a sexual drive for some of you, but certainly a drive to go deeper into your psyche for others of you, okay? And then the T-square, so Mars opposed Neptune, is also, both of those are squaring Jupiter. Jupiter in the 10th. Now, please listen. This can create dogmatic positioning for some, okay? Jupiter in Sagittarius in the 10th. For you, this is like you adopting the position or the role of the teacher, the one that knows the truth. And so a lot of people can fall into a deep, bit of self-delusion here when it comes to, I know the truth and others don't. And so what this T-square can activate for some of you is creating a bit of conflict with people and trying to, let's say, bring forward your truth as existential truth versus your perception mechanism, okay? Now, does that mean that there aren't truths like natural law that live in the consciousness field, the organizing principles that live there? Of course they do. So for some of you, you're going to access authentic truth, and you might feel more confident, Mars in 7th house, to bring forward your idea to people. And again, came forward in the art. So there's a lot of listening that you're doing, but also there's a little anger, rage, and passion coming through the red boat. But I think because the red boat, again, is floating on the ocean, I think you're going to have an ability to navigate, for most of you, not all of you, most of you are going to be able to navigate those emotional waters, the emotional waters of the consciousness field, like tapping into the narratives, the emotionally held narratives that are out there in the world today. Okay? Let's see if there's anything else. I think that might be it. The only other thing that I'll mention is that the asteroid Varuna is going to be in your 6th house. It's in Leo. It's actually been there for a little while. You've had it there for a few months, I think. So with Varuna in your 6th house, there is a natural confidence, again, coming out with your day-to-day work or your impetus to serve, your impetus to be of some sort of service in the work that you provide. Okay? And of course, being in Leo can bring about the inner actor, the inner star, that wants to be on stage, wants to be on media, wants to be on video. Doesn't have to be, but it definitely could. And especially with Varuna squaring Uranus. And Uranus for you, of course, is in the 3rd house of mind, thinking and thoughts, and communications. And that definitely indicates that sporadically, spontaneously, and confidently, you could just come out of the woodwork with an idea, with a project, with some communication, some teaching modalities that wish to come forward. That's simply part of your process right now. Pisces, it's very exciting. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and to, leave comments as desired. There are sales. So as you listen to this, still in September, I have September sales happening, a lot of them. But I will also have some specials activated for October. So you're invited to sign up for my newsletter to receive announcements, but also just go to my website to see what the specials are. I encourage all of you to get a natal analysis done. It is foundational to understand your blueprint, especially now before we enter the 2020 cycle. Lots of change happening. Now's the time to get grounded and rooted and clear and free as much as you can. So for those interested, you can find all the links below. I send you much love. Bye-bye.